Okay, Heather Roberts, and today we're going to talk about how marketing and merchandising are really important to your e-commerce sales channel. And if you hear the squeaking in the background, not to worry, it's just a puppy. It's just Georgie, and she is part of the work environment. So here we go. Y'all, I'm having all kinds of trouble today with tech. Just all kinds of trouble. All right, well, let's see if I can work around this. Not to worry. Okay, so here we are. We're going to talk about how merchandising is important and part of your e-commerce sales channel. So you should be able to see my screen, and in it there is a kind of a diagram, and it talks about the things that we find to be most important. We have 3 things that we focus on in our e-commerce sales channel, and we teach it with our coaching, and we use it in practice with our clients. And that's sales, marketing, and management. Today, we're going to focus on all things marketing. So, why is it important to make sure you have good marketing? Well, you need to have an in-house marketing strategy that considers 3 areas. So those 3 areas are merchandising, new product development, and account expansion. Now, if you have sales, which we talked about a little bit last week, and you have marketing, but you're missing your management piece, you're stunting your growth. You can't grow like you want. So your sales are down. So we want to avoid that. And one of the ways that we can avoid doing that is by focusing on the merchandising portion of the puzzle, right? Right here. Merchandising. Okay. So let's look at it let's look at things this way. Okay. So what are some of the things that hold people back when they're worried about improving their merchandising? Well, one of the things that we have found is that people really worry about the cost. And they're worried about the cost of images and the investment on the images, copy, and so forth. They're really concerned about, is it worth it? Then they worry, or if their fear and their concern is about the cost of improving all of this, then the thing that they get most frustrated about is that they're not going to be able to find your images, right? You can't find, this is my very poor attempt of an eye, but okay. They're worried that they won't be able to be seen on the e-commerce site that they want to work with. They're worried that they're buried in the search pages, right? So we don't want to have them, stacked underneath all kinds of things, right? So that's one of the things that they get frustrated about. They want to know, what can they do to pop themselves up? Well, I'm going to tell you, if you invest in your merchandising, it will take away your frustration here. If you invest here, you take away your frustration there, and you get exactly what you want, which is increased sales. Your order volume will go up because by virtue of having good images and good SEO terms, you automatically will get popped up in the algorithm, right? And so what does that make us all, the end goal of all of this? Well, the end goal of all of this is to have consistent order flow. And that's what the real goal is. You want to be able to know that day in and day out, you can count on this sales channel to bring you money and have it be profitable. Okay? All right. So let's scroll back down. Okay. Let's go and talk about what are some of the problems that suppliers face if they don't invest in their merchandising. Other than being frustrated and being fearful and all of that, what are the actual real problems that get put out there? Well, the first one is you have a confused customer. Well, let's see if I can spell today. You have a confused customer. And what I mean by that is if you don't take the time to put like dimensions and materials and all of that kind of stuff in your SEO, then you're going to find that customers can't find you, right? And that's a big, big problem. Another problem that you can have if you don't invest in doing this correctly is you drop in the search pages or in the algorithm. And that is like a death sentence for anybody, isn't it? That's the worst thing we want to do, is be buried in those search pages. The third problem clients have is if they don't take the time to put the correct information in their product listings, like by their bullet points or in their title, they have an increased returns rate, which can negatively affect how their allowances are structured. Also, and we have seen this happen with folks. Also, if you only, would have something that you slapped up there with one image and you had a crummy title and you have no bullet points, no description or whatever, that means you're going to be way buried in the search pages, which means you're not going to have the conversion you want, and you risk you risk having the internet retailer drop you. They can drop those SKUs. They'll just take them off. Not a problem. So you want to avoid these problems and take advantage of some opportunities that you can have here, right? So we don't want to get dropped. We don't want to be buried in search pages. Instead, we want to invest in this area of our business, and we want to end up, if we do that, what are we going to end up with? Well, we're going to have very happy customers, right? They're just going to be thrilled. You're going to increase your rank in the pages, and you're going to have an increased cash flow. 3 basic things. Those are your big opportunities here. All right. So how do we go about doing this? Well, there are 5 areas that you should really kind of think about and focus on. Okay. So the first is you want to think about your customer. And this can be a little counterintuitive because most people think, oh, well, that's Susie who buys it from her house. Yes, but your customer is Wayfair. Your customer is Overstock. So you want to, meet the requirements of your customer, but furthermore, you want to also search and think like a customer, not like a manufacturer. So like a manufacturer uses, the big technical words, right? I don't know, the funny names for materials and things like that. Customers don't search like that. They don't look by polypropylene. They don't search by that. Y'all, excuse me for a second. I'm trying to. There we go. Okay, somebody's trying to call. They don't search by like polypropylene rug. They search for indoor-outdoor rug, right? So use the terms that your customer uses. Okay. There's also the ones that are most searchable. So just think about that for a minute. You need to be customer facing with your copy and content, not manufacturer facing. I can give you an example. Let me talk a little bit about some folks that I know who've done this. And I mentioned just briefly, like I gave an example. So we have seen over time, there have been folks who, for instance, there was a grandfather clock. And a very well-known manufacturer has this grandfather clock. And in it, they neglected to put in the key things that people actually were interested in. Instead, they had the dimension, it had maybe the material. It didn't mention anything about the pendulum that apparently was really fancy and high-tech, and just all of these little things that it turns out, if you have a grandfather clock, customers are searching for, right? So you want to take the time to invest in that. I can give you another example. So we have worked with some folks, and they make gift bags. Okay, this is my poor attempt of a gift bag. But they make gift bags. And they were really frustrated because they weren't getting any traction with their gift bags. And it turns out it's because their copy and content was not up to par. They did not put in dimensions. They didn't put in the material of their bag, which was a heavyweight paper. Okay, that's one of those things that people do care about. Customers care about heavyweight paper. They also didn't mention that they had that little cardboard insert kind of at the bottom that makes it stand upright. So, there were things that would make this much more appealing to the customer that was searching for them, and they just neglected to do that. So you want to make sure that you don't do that by focusing on your SEO terms. Now, SEO terms can be very simple. They don't have to be rocket science. Sometimes it's as simple as your color, your, where you can use them, what is a unique selling feature, those kinds of things. So you don't necessarily have to stress yourself out over your SEO terms, but you absolutely, positively must include them because that's how the customer searches. Your product title. If you want to focus on only one thing, 5 years ago I would have told you something different, but right now, if you want to focus on only one thing, and it's the one thing that you can do today that will improve your product listing, it's your product title. Your product title needs to have the dimensions of your product. It needs to have the color. It needs to have what it is. So like if it's an end table, you would be surprised how many people have this fancy name like California luxury, blah, 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 and they forget to say it's an end table. If it can be used outdoors, you include that. Any other really unique feature, like maybe it has 3 shelves. See what I'm saying? You get the idea? So that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you're as specific as possible and you maximize all of your characters. Okay, a product title has, by site, they vary a little bit by how many product characters you can use, but you want to make sure you are maximizing what those are, okay? That's key. That makes sure you get the most information in that product title possible. Okay. So next, you want to make sure your product listing lists and kind of calls out any unique product feature, any unique selling feature. So let's say we're going to stick with end tables, and let's say it has a drawer. Not every end table does. Maybe it has one bottom shelf. Put that in. Maybe it has really cool legs, like they're maybe a little more interestingly carved, or there's something unique about a piece of the end table itself. Call that out. Say scrolled legs. Those are all important things that customers do want to know. Okay, I'm getting my water, y'all. There we go. So just make sure you call out those unique selling features, and have it when you're writing these things, make sure you look at this from an outside perspective. You want to take that step back for a minute and say, oh, okay, I know I work with these pieces day in and day out, but what is something that I take for granted about my product that it would be really interesting to somebody else? Okay, so, maybe the drawer slides are really, they're the quiet drawer slides. Whatever it is, just take those few minutes to really double down and focus on those, because they do help and they do make a difference. Okay, so maximize. Now, you heard me mention it when we talked about the product title, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more. Different sites have different character limits, and that applies to not only product title, but it also applies to bullet points and any, short form romance description or a long form. For instance, Macy's has a requirement to have both a long and a short romance description. You need to make sure you maximize those characters. That gives the customer the best ability to learn as much as they can about your product. So if we're just going to recap really quickly here, if you can focus just in one area right now, if you're going to focus in your merchandising and within marketing, you're going to focus right now on your merchandising. There are a few things you can do right now today that will improve your merchandising. So let me just recap what those are. Number one, you want to make sure that you look at this from the customer's point of view. Oh, I guess white won't work here, huh? Okay, the customer's point of view. You want to call out the unique selling features. You want to include SEO, and you want to make sure you are maximizing your characters. And you want to have the best product title you can. It's what the customer sees second. They see the images first, they see the product title second. Okay, so I hope everybody found this to be helpful. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, please just pop them in below, and I will be happy to answer them. We're going to do this again on Thursday. Yay! And on Thursday, we're actually going to talk more specifically about Wayfair. Who is Wayfair? What do they do? And how do you work with them? So if you're interested in that, I highly suggest you come on back on Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And I'll see if I get my tech issues worked out. That would be really helpful, wouldn't it? All right. Bye, guys.